Okay, folks, let me get some slideshow here. Okay, so we're going to talk about real quick how to make a character. I'm going to show you how to do this by making a particular character. I'm going to do probably a Dwarven cleric. Yours is obviously going to be different than mine, so you're going to have to kind of like see what I'm doing, like what pages I'm referencing in the player's handbook, to kind of make your decision right there. But anyway, there are 3 big decisions you need to make. We talked about this last week. Race or species is basically what kind of being are you, elf, dwarf, human, etc. Background, what did you do before becoming an adventurer? And then class is basically what kind of adventurer are you. So I'm going to start with the race or species. Starts on page 17. Each option gives you your character different capabilities. But yeah, let's kind of like check to see what we're going to do here. Okay, now there's your character sheet here. You guys were working on this last week. Like I said, this starts on page 17 in the player's handbook. You can access that player's handbook based on the link that Mr. Rose gave you. But yeah, it looks like, let's see if I can pull this in here. Starts here, races, page 17. Anyway, I'm going to kind of go through here. You can look through these here to see which one most closely matches your character concept. I'm going to choose a dwarf, so dwarf right there. You can look through that. Look through them. This is basically just the first one in here, and you can see these are the character capabilities starting on page 20 for the dwarf. Let's see if I can get this focused here. So yeah, talks about dwarf traits right here, like all this stuff. Talks about different sub-races, basically different types of dwarves you can be. Gives you different names you can choose from as well. So I'm gonna kind of just like run through here. I'm gonna choose, I don't know, let's see, let's be a dude. I'm gonna be Thorin, just like Lord of the Rings. Let's do Harbeck. Harbeck will be my first name, and then I'll look through here for the clan names, and I'll look at Harbeck. Oh, I don't know. Harbeck Frostbeard. There we go. So I'm going to look at my character sheet here. Character name is right here, so I'm going to say Harbeck Frostbeard. Start filling out my character sheet like so. Okay. Player name is right there. And then I'm going to go through kind of all the capabilities that the dwarf has, right? We're not going to worry about ability score increases like this. I basically have a sheet later in my slideshow that basically tells you all what to do about this. So we're not going to worry about this right now. I'm not going to worry about age. We'll talk about alignment later. Size or medium, we'll talk about kind of like how you figure that out later. Basically, it's really not important. Basically, everybody is medium unless you choose to be a small character. But speed, base walking speed is 25 feet. So I'm going to put that on my character sheet right here. I'm going to go through all the stuff for the race or species, and then I'll go through all the stuff for background, and then I'll go through all the stuff for class. But anyway, capabilities that a dwarf has. I have dark vision, dwarven resilience, dwarven combat training, a tool proficiency I can choose from those 3, stone cunning, and then I get some languages, right? And then I choose my subrace, and I get this stuff right here. But anyway, I'm going to start going through and listing here. Now, I'm not going to write all the details of this stuff down. I'm just going to list them out. So I have dark vision, 60 feet. That's my first one. I'm going to put that in the features and traits section of my character sheet. So I have dark vision, 60 feet. Basically, I can see in the dark better than like a human can. And then I'm going to go through, and I just showed you these. So I don't think I need to show them to you again unless you want to pause it right now. But and again, this is what I'm choosing, right? And what I would do right now is I would pause it, and I would kind of, maybe I'd watch through to the end of this one, and then I'd go through and choose your own, like elf, for instance. But anyway, I'm going to go through the rest of these: dwarven resilience, dwarven combat training. Okay, I'm just going to list all these out real quick here. If you want to slow it down or speed it up, feel free. It is YouTube after all, so you do have that capability. Now for tool proficiencies, where it says right here, if you get this as part of your race, right? As a dwarf, I get a choice of Smith's tools, Brewer's tools, or Mason's tools. I'm going to choose Smith's tools, so basically I can kind of work the blacksmithing, anvil, and forge and stuff like that to make like metal stuff. I'm actually going to put that here where it says other proficiencies in languages. I'm going to put Smith's tools. Okay. I also get stone cunning. I'm going to go back to the features and traits. Basically, if there's stone work, I can kind of like figure out if a dwarf made it or a goblin made it or whatever made it, right? And then I get some languages. I get Common and Dwarvish. Okay, so I'm going to list that in other proficiencies in languages back here. So Common, Dwarven, and I think I'll get another one later from my background. But yeah, we'll do that when we get to it. Oh, is that not focused here? Come on. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to choose my sub-race. Here. I'm going to choose to be a hill dwarf, right? So hill dwarf right here. You can read about it if you want to, but wisdom goes up by 1, but again, we're not worried about ability score increases. But I do get dwarven toughness, right? So basically I get extra hit points, okay? But I'm going to, when I figure out hit points, then I'll add that in. But I do write dwarven toughness right here, right? Now, obviously, right, if you chose an elf, you're going to look through the elven traits, right? If you chose a halfling, you're going to choose the halfling traits, etc., right? But that's all the dwarven stuff right there. Let me actually list it. I forgot to write it on the race here, so I'm going to say hill dwarf. Right here. Some things have sub-races, some things don't. Dwarves are one of the ones that do. Now I'm going to go for my background right here. I know for my character concept, he's going to be like a religious cleric-y dude. So I'm going to go to backgrounds. Let me go back to my slideshow real quick. Okay. So background. This is basically what you did before becoming an adventurer. Again, lots of different options. This starts on page 125. You want to kind of read through them and figure out which one matches yours the best. And each option gives you specific things, right? 2 skills, 2 languages, or tool proficiencies, or whatever, right? This is on page 125, right? That's going to look like this right here. Switch back to my .cam. Okay, got like this dude on it right there, where it says backgrounds, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn the page. I'm just going to choose the first one, which happens to be Acolyte, right? So basically grew up in a monastery, right? So background, I'm going to choose Acolyte right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go through the traits here, right? So for an Acolyte, I get some skill proficiencies, I get some languages, and I get some equipment. So the skills, insight, and religion, that means I'm basically very good at reading people to figure out whether they're lying or, I don't know, whether they're hiding something. And then religion is basically, I've studied a lot about religions, so I know about religions. Now for the skills, I'm going to go here, right? And I'll kind of go into skills more in depth later in my my video. I do have a slide about this, but for right now I'm just kind of like choosing them. I've got insight, and then I've got religion. Okay, you know, actually I'm going to kind of like talk about skills right now. Let me go back to my slideshow. Okay. Skills, right there. Okay, your character will have skills, things they're good at. You can read through this slide, right? Certain characters tend to be good at different skills, right? These are the different skills, and they're based on your attributes, basically strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Okay. Now, in insight and religion, which is what my character chose, is going to be wisdom and intelligence-based skills. But just so you know, I think there's like 19 total skills. Those talks about that on page 174, but we'll go into that in depth later. But there's a lot of different skills that your character can be good at. I also get 2 languages, okay, and some equipment. So let's go to the languages, because I already have Common and Dwarven down here, and I'm going to add 2 more. And those are on page 123. And this is the list of languages right here. There's like standard ones here, and then there's exotic ones right here. I'm going to choose celestial because I'm like kind of like angelic beings, right? That's as an exotic one because I'm going to be like a priest type, and then I'm going to choose, I don't know, giant as my other one because dwarves kind of like are known to have giants as enemies. So I'm going to choose giant and then celestial. So basically just I can talk to those types of people. And then I'm going to go back to the acolyte section, and it's got some equipment right here. I'm just going to take all these things right here, and I'm going to list them out in the equipment section right here. So I'll also get equipment from my class, but I'm just going to go through each kind of big choice individually and fill these out as we go. So I get a holy symbol, that's how I cast spells. I get a prayer book. I get some incense, 5 sticks. I get vestments and clothes. Vestments are like priest's clothes. I get some common clothes, and I think I get some gold. I think it's 15 gold. Let me double check here. So basically money. So gold pieces are right here. I get 15 of those. And then I've got some kind of like personalizing my character, right? I've got these 4 sections right here where it says personality traits. Personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Okay. Now these are listed here in that the background section, right? Now what I can do is I can actually just roll dice to generate this. I can take an 8-sided dice right here, this D8, and I can roll for personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. I'm not going to do that because I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? And you would just write them out right there, but I'm not going to worry about that. And each background has their own individual, personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, and then also their own skills and languages and stuff like that. But that pretty much covers my... Oh, it actually gives you one other thing that's kind of like a little feature. I get a shelter of the faithful. Basically, I can like find housing in my religion's churches and stuff like that. So I'm going to put that in the section right here. I'm just going to fill this features and traits out. I get shelter of the faithful. And this might come into play later on when we're actually adventuring, stuff like that. Just depends on how the adventure goes. Okay, so I've got my race done. I've got my got my background done, and now I'm going to go choose my class. Okay, so what kind of adventurer are you? You've got lots of options: fighter, wizard, rogue. This starts on page 45, and then this is where most of your character features will come from. I'm going to show you what page 45 looks like in the player's handbook, because again, you should kind of make your own decision on this. I chose a cleric because they get a lot of different stuff, and most importantly, they're a caster class, which means they have magic, and that's one of the more complicated things that you'll deal with. But anyway, this is page 45. It kind of goes through all this stuff and lists it right here. And this is where I'm going to talk more about skills, saving throws, and stuff like that, and your stats as well. And then your hit dice, which basically is how many hit points you have, right? So you got the names right here, a brief description of it. I'm going to choose cleric. It's a priestly champion, okay? And then it's got all this stuff in it. But we'll talk more about this in depth as we explore what a cleric is, or what a cleric can do. And again, that starts on page 45. And it's got a lot of different options in here. But, okay. So this is kind of what the cleric page looks like right here. It has like a more in-depth description of them, and then talks about creating a cleric. And we're just going to follow the exact, just what it says here. We're just going to follow this order and create our character. Now, when you look at this, you're like, dude, this is pretty complicated. But we're going to focus on first level right here. So basically just this line. And again, each class has its own table right here, which gives you different features. If you're a spellcaster, right, you'll get something like this. And this proficiency bonus is basically how you, as you level up, you get better at your skills and attacks and stuff like that, right? But anyway, we're going to focus on the cleric. So clerics get they roll a d8, which is an 8-sided die per cleric level, but on the first level it maxes out. So I'm just going to get 8 hit points. Actually, before we get into this, we should talk about your stats, because that is an important feature as well. Let me go back to my slideshow. Sorry. So there are 6 stats or abilities for every character: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. This starts on page 173 if you kind of want to read through it in the book. But this is basically the basis of how you figure out how good your character is at stuff, right? And you basically take some bonuses from these skills, combine them with these statistics, and then combine them with the skills that you're good at, and that determines what you add to your rolls when you're rolling your dice to see if you succeed on certain things. So let me show you kind of where this is on the character sheet. It's right here. Okay. We got your strength, etc. right here. There's 6 of them, and these are going to tie into your saving throws right here, and they're going to tie into your skills, and they'll also tie into your attacks and your spellcasting. Okay. But anyway, should be pretty self-explanatory what they all are, hopefully. Strength is how strong you are, how quick you are, or nimble, how tough, how smart, how wise, and then how charismatic you are. But it is important that you assign your skills, I keep saying skills, your statistics or abilities correctly, because you can kind of screw your character up if you don't do it right. They used to roll stats, and it would be really random, and some people would get really good rolls, and some people would get really bad rolls, and so it was unfair, but we do it differently, right? So we assign them like this, right? So there's these 6 numbers right here: 16, 14, 14, 12, 10, and 8, and then you have your bonus modifiers on the right, and those are what you basically get to roll 2 dice, right? Now, if you can recall, when I talked about the hill dwarf, it had specific bonuses to certain stats. I think it was Constitution and Wisdom. There's an alternative rules that kind of allows you to reassign your stuff, so you're not tied to being a wise, tough dwarf. I could be a smart, strong dwarf, or a charismatic, quick dwarf, right, if I wanted to. Just kind of depends on your character concept. But this is kind of how I recommend setting up your characters, basically how you assign them. There's 12 character classes: Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, etc. And these 3 pages in the slideshow tell you kind of how to set them up, how you want to set them up. Now my Cleric is right here. Strength 14, Dex 10, Con 14. That's kind of what I'm going to go with, right? And so when I go to the character sheet right here, I assign them right here. So Strength 14, which gives me a +2 bonus. Sorry, +2 bonus right there. That's what I wrote down. And then I have a 10 and a +0 for Dexterity. +0. And then Constitution is a 14 with a bonus of +2. Intelligence is 8 with a bonus of -1, so not particularly smart. Wisdom is 16 +3. That is the most important stat for a cleric, because that's what your spellcasting runs off of. And then Charisma 12, which gives me a bonus of +1. Okay, so I got my stats assigned. Again, you will choose whichever kind of like array matches with your class, and put those in there. Again, if you want to change it up, and for instance you're like a wizard and you want to be stronger rather than quicker, you would switch your strength and your dex if you wanted to. I don't know if I'd recommend that, but it is totally possible, right? So you can kind of switch these around, but I'm giving you kind of what I would recommend for the, traditional, finger quotes, traditional class, right? Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about class features for the cleric. So now that I've got my constitution score generated, I could talk about hit points. So you max out this die, so I get 8 hit points at first level, and then for your hit points you also add your constitution bonus, so 8 + 2 is 10, and then my Dwarven Dwarven toughness from my being a Hilldwarf gives me 1 extra hit point, so I actually get 11 hit points as my maximum, okay? So, pretty beefy. Not as beefy as some, but beefier than others, definitely. And then it goes down to proficiencies. Zoom or focus that in here. I get all these right here. I get light armor proficiencies, medium armor shields. I can wield simple weapons. And then I get to choose some skills, and then we'll talk about saving throws, what those mean. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to write these proficiencies down here. So I get light armor, medium armor, I'll just combine those, shields, and then simple weapons. Okay, and those are basically kind of like what I can wear, like light armor, medium armor, I can use shield, and I can use some simple weapons. But because my Dwarven combat training, I actually get some better weapons that I can wield, and we'll talk about that when we get to equipment. Now the skills that I can choose as a cleric are history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. I already got insight and religion from being an acolyte. I'm going to choose medicine and persuasion. Medicine because I'm like a healer, and then persuasion because I want to be able to talk to people relatively well without putting my foot in my mouth. So I choose medicine, and I choose persuasion right here. And these actually kind of lean into my bonuses right here. I have a +3 to medicine, and you can see that it says wisdom right there. And so I'm able to kind of like combine those together. And then it also talks about saving throws. Right, so as a cleric, I am proficient in wisdom and charisma. Saving throws, what is that? And you said the word proficient. Well, this is when we talk about some specific mechanics here. Let me go to my character sheet. So all the bonuses that you see on your stats, those +1s, +3s, -1s right there, those you can add those to skills, saving throws, some attacks. We call those modifiers or bonuses. We talked about skills a little bit already. I've already selected my skills. Again, starts on page 174 if you want to take a look at that. I've got some tool proficiencies as well. I think I got a blacksmith's kit. Now these saving throws, right? This is basically how you resist any attacks that come your way, whether it's fire, acid, poison, psychic attacks, all kinds of different stuff, right? These saving throws are based on stats, like your strength, dex, wisdom, etc. And each class is good at 2 saving throws. I think I said cleric is good at wisdom and charisma. You get to add your relevant stat bonus and then your proficiency bonus to your roll to resist being affected. Proficiency bonus, what's that? This is kind of lists the saving throws, but I want to talk proficiency bonus, right? This is listed on that big table that I showed you earlier. Right, you see this proficiency bonus, how it gets better as you go, right? The idea here is that you get to add this proficiency bonus to anything that you're especially good at, right? And it goes up as you level, so you get better at certain stuff, right? So you get to add it to skills that you're proficient in, saving throws, weapon attacks, and tools. Okay, so let's kind of go through that and assign that proficiency bonus of +2 to all the relevant stuff. So my proficiency bonus is listed right here. Okay, and let's see, as a cleric, again, I am proficient in saving throws for wisdom and charisma. Okay, and again, each class is different, and each class is going to have different sets of saving throws that they're proficient in, or skills that they're proficient in. Will this focus? Okay, so wisdom and charisma. See, you'll notice I've got these filled in, but I don't have others filled in, right? So what this means is because this wisdom score is filled in, I get to take my wisdom bonus of +3 and my proficiency bonus of +2 and add them together to get a +5 on any rolls. Charisma gives me a +1 and my proficiency bonus of +2 for a +3. Okay, now, just because I'm not proficient in the others doesn't mean I don't get a bonus. It just is the base bonus from the stat. So strength saving throws, I get a +2, +0 for dex. Con, I get a +2. I'm not particularly smart, so I actually get a -1 on my intelligence saving throws. So those are kind of like when I'm like afflicted by a certain thing, right? If a dragon breathes fire on me, I would roll a dexterity saving throw, and it'd be harder for me to get out of the way of that because I only have a +0. Now the skills is kind of the same thing, right? You can see that they have them listed with the irrelevant stat these guys here. And so if I take a look at insight, it's a wisdom skill, so I get to take that +3, and then the proficiency bonus of +2 or a +5. Now medicine is also a wisdom skill, so I get a +5 to wisdom. Persuasion is a charisma skill, so I get a +1 here, and my proficiency bonus, so a +3. Now my religion, that's a bad 3, is an intelligence-based skill, because it's more studying, right? Studying about religion. I actually have a -1, so -1 +2 gives me a total of +1 for that. So, not great at it, but decent. And then the other ones that aren't kind of like aren't filled in here, I just get the basic bonus from the stat. So all the dex ones are going to be +0, so I'm just going to go through and fill those out. So acrobatics, what else is dex? Okay, and then animal handling is wisdom, so that's a +3 for me. And then I kind of just go through deception, history, perception is wisdom as well, and then survival. Arcana is intelligence, so that's a -1. That's basically knowing about magic. History is -1 for me. Investigation is -1. Nature is -1. Now, there are no skills that are associated with con. You can kind of think of hit points as being the most important skill, in quotes, but there are no actual skills that con is associated with. Now, athletics is strength, so I get a +2. That's actually the only skill associated with strength. And I think everything is charisma. Yeah, so that's a +1. So +1, +1, +1. And again, right, your array of stats and saving throws and everything will look different than mine generally. But again, this is just kind of like how you are generally creating a character. So I'm going to go through the rest of the class features here. I've talked about skills, proficiency, bonuses, hit points. Now I'm going to go through my equipment here. I start with a mace or a warhammer if proficient. Because I am a dwarf, I actually have dwarven combat training, right? So I get a warhammer. So that is a better weapon than a mace. So warhammer here. And I'm actually going to put it up here, because this is where I'm going to talk about my bonuses with the warhammer. Okay, but I want to list it in two places because this is talking about my attacks and this is talking about my equipment. I also get scale mail, leather armor, or chainmail if proficient. I'm going to get chainmail because I'm actually... what's that? Okay, gotta do a quick diversion right here before we talk about that. So right here I get spellcasting and my divine domain, right, as a cleric. So I'm going to put that right there. Okay, and again, this is going to be kind of specific to being a cleric. Your class will have different stuff. But divine domain is basically kind of what kind of cleric I am. And there's a lot of them. I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to choose the life cleric. So that's just right here again. Your character will be different. So one thing that I get as a life cleric is I get proficiency with heavy armor, which is quite nice. So I'm going to list that. Let's see right here, heavy armor. And because of that, I can wear chainmail. Chainmail. So I get better protection in combat. So yeah. I know, I kind of had to go all over the place there. I also get a light crossbow, and I'll pick an explorer's pack, a shield, and a holy symbol. I've already got a holy symbol, so I don't need two of them. So let's see, light crossbow, 20 bolts, explorer's pack, and a shield. So, geez, oh Pete, this pencil keeps running out of lead. Light crossbow, 20 bolts, explorer's pack. And explorer's pack actually has a lot of stuff in it. And I get a shield. Now, let's go through, talk about, and I'm going to add light crossbow here. to my attacks. Now the equipment, I think I have a slide about equipment. I don't know if it has that much information on it, but we'll see here. Starts on page 143. You'll get some equipment from your background and class, and then you'll also get some gold. I've got 15 gold, I think. But anyway, page 143 starts with armor. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so equipment starts on page 143, and this is where, right, I've got the armor list right here. I look for heavy armor right here, and I find chainmail right here. So that gives me a 16 armor class. To be able to wield it, to be able to wear it effectively, I need a strength of 13, at least 13. That way it doesn't slow me down, but I have a strength of 14, so I'm good. So chainmail actually gives me an armor class of 16. Let me show that again. I don't think I showed that enough. Armor class of 16. When you get to this point, you have different armor, and you can kind of like talk to one of us. But I'm going to put that... Oh, and shield. I have a shield as well, which gives me a +2 bonus. So I take that 16 plus 2 is 18. If you're confused about armor class, it can be kind of confusing. Talk to one of us, and we'll help you with that. Okay, so I got my armor class down. Initiative basically is, let's just do this right now because I don't think it's listed in the character class, is based on your dexterity bonus. So right there. This is basically when combat happens, you get to roll dice, a dice, add this to it, and whoever gets the highest number goes first. So that's the idea with that. And now I'm going to go to the weapons page, which I believe is on page 149. Looks like this, right? And I'm going to find the Warhammer on here. A Warhammer basically does a 8-sided die worth of bludgeoning damage and is versatile. If I use it with 2 hands, I can do a 10-sided die. But I'm going to use a Warhammer and a shield, so I'm going to do that one-handed. So 1d8 bludgeoning. Okay, so 1d8 of dice. And now, it's kind of hard to see here, but it says attack bonus and then damage. Attack bonus is based on your strength for heavy weapons plus your proficiency bonus, so +4 total. And then you actually get to add your damage, your strength bonus to your damage. So I have a +4 to attack, and I do 1d8 +2 damage. For the light crossbow, it's a ranged weapon. Also, this would work for like lighter weapons like knives, daggers, short swords. I get to add my dexterity bonus, which is 0, and my proficiency bonus, so +2. And then when I look at the sheet right here for light crossbow, where is it? Right here. It does 1d8 piercing damage, right? And we'll talk about this stuff later, right? So it does a d8 of piercing, and I do not have a dexterity bonus, so I don't get to add a damage to that like I did for the Warhammer. Okay, so going back to the cleric, I think I've got that down. I talked about my knowledge domain, a little bit in my life domain. I get one extra thing because I'm a life cleric. Oh, I would write... I forgot to do this at the beginning. Cleric, level 1, and I'm going to put my subclass right there, life. Clerics get it at first level. Other classes get it typically at 3rd level, so don't worry about that. But I do get something called the Disciple of Life, which basically makes me a better healer right there. And I'm just going to write that in the other features, right? Features and traits. Again, you'll have different stuff. And it's just basically listed in that character class pages, right? And again, if at any point you have questions, pause this. You can go back and forth, and you can also ask us questions. Okay. Now, we got most of this filled out. We're not going to worry about temporary hit points or hit dice right now. And again, this could be filled out. If you want to, you can kind of take a look at this second page right here where it says age, height, weight. You can kind of generate that based on your character concept, but you can also, if you kind of want to generate it randomly, you can go to page 121 kind of hard to see here. And there's actually a chart that I could use to generate this stuff, right, with dice and stuff, but I'm not going to worry about that. Dwarf, I'm going to be like, I don't know, I'm like 4'5" and probably about 150 pounds. So pretty burly, because dwarves tend to be short and stocky. So I would be like, I don't know, height 4'5", 150 pounds. I'll have red hair, ruddy skin, which is kind of like flushed. I'll be probably about 45, and I'll have green eyes. Yeah, 45, because dwarves tend to mature slower than humans because they live way longer. So I think that covers most of this right here. Now, this is kind of where it gets a little more complicated, because as a cleric, I am a spellcaster, so I have spellcasting, right? So it can be kind of particular to each class. You want to read about this definitely in your player's handbook. For the cleric, it's on page 58, but it's got a lot of stuff here, right? And so the idea here is I get 3 cantrips, which are kind of like spells that I can do all the time, like kind of low level, and then I get some more powerful spells that I can cast per day, right? Spell casting ability is my is wisdom for my cleric, and the idea here is it starts at 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. And when I want to attack with the spell, it's my proficiency bonus and my wisdom modifier. Okay, so again, proficiency bonus is +2, my wisdom modifier is a +3, so 8 plus 2 plus 3 is 13. And then for my spell attack, it's +2 plus 3 is +5. Okay, so I would list this on my spellcasting sheet, which is that 3rd page, right? Spellcasting class. I'm just going to put cleric right here. It's like holy magic. Spellcasting ability modifier is, or spellcasting ability is wisdom. Okay. Spell save DC is 13. 8 plus 2 plus 3. 8 is the base, plus proficiency bonus of +2, plus my wisdom modifier +3. And then spell attack is +5. We'll talk about this more in depth as we actually cast spells in combat and stuff. But yeah. And let's see, as a dwarf, I'm going to go to my spell slot page, and I've got this right here, right? So spells per level. So at first level, I know 3 cantrips, and I can cast 2 first level spells per day. Okay, now I'm going to find the spell casting section in here. I don't think I have a slide on this, so I'll just kind of like tell you the page number once I find it. And it's got a lot of information in it. Okay, so the magic and spellcasting starts on page 201. It's got this like cool dark elf dude casting magic missile. So page 201 down here. And I get 3 cantrips from the cleric spell list. And those spell lists start on page 207. Right? Lots of lists right here. I'm a cleric, so I'm going to start here. These are my cantrips. These are the low level spells. I get 3 of these, and then I can choose 2 first level spells. Okay, now if you want, it's probably easier just to talk to us about recommendations for your spells rather than kind of choosing these without going through the enormous list of spells that you can look through here and reading them. But if you want to, that's totally fine. I'm going to choose guidance, mending, and sacred flame. Okay, now guidance basically allows me to help another player by adding a 4-sided die to their roll. Mending allows me to fix things, and sacred flame is my attack cantrip. Okay, so I'm going to write down guidance, mending, and sacred flame. I'll actually probably add a page in the slideshow about this to have this information. Yeah, anyway. And I'm going to choose 2 first level spells. I'm going to choose Bless and Healing Word as my 2 that I have that I can cast. Actually, no. Hold on. Let's see. So I think that's the 2 I can cast, but I can actually prepare a few more than that, and so I can kind of choose between them. Let's see. Preparing spells. Oh, it's my Wisdom modifier plus my Cleric level, so 3 plus 1. So I actually have 4 first level spells that I can choose. So I'm going to choose Bless, Command, Healing Word, and Guiding Bolt. So I'm going to put those in level 1. So Bless, Command, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word. This is a healing spell, so it's kind of my bread and butter as a cleric. And as a life cleric, I actually get some extra. Oh, I actually get Bless already, so I'm going to take that off. I get Cure Wounds as well. And then I'm going to take Bless off and put in. Shield of Faith, right? Right here, Shield of Faith, rather than Bless, because I already have it automatically as a life cleric. I know this might be kind of complicated, but it will make sense as we play. Okay, just ask us questions as you go. Now, Sacred Flame and Guiding Bolt are attacks, so I'm actually going to go and add them to my attack list right here. Okay, so I'm going to add a Sacred Flame. This is kind of like what I'm going to do in combat mostly. I'm not going to use my Warhammer because I'm not as good with it. So Sacred Flame is going to be a D8. There's going to be a D8 of radiant damage. Oh, crossbow's piercing, and then this is bludgeoning. So we'll talk about those damage types later, not super important right now. So a D8 of radiant damage, and it's a DC of 13 to resist it, right? Some spells I roll to hit, some spells the person you're attacking rolls to hit. Now I got that 13 for my spell save DC right there, okay? And then Guiding Bolt is an attack spell, so I actually get a +5 to hit on that, so I roll on that one, and it does 4d6 radiant damage, basically holy damage, and then it's advantage to hit for the next person, and advantage just means you roll twice and take the better one. Okay, that was pretty long. I think it's probably about a 30-minute video, but I think I covered most of it here. Again, yours going to be different than mine. You just kind of like have to look through like the classes, the backgrounds, and the species to kind of get your stuff, and it'll guide you through it to create your character. And again, if you need help, please feel free to ask.